Those who grew up with a good father. What was the most important thing you learned from him? You are the only person you have to live with for the rest of your life. In other words, take responsibility for what you do, learn how to move past your mistakes, and realize that your actions have consequences. My great GMA always said, wherever you go, self goes with you. Wherever you go, there you are. You can't outrun yourself. Today is the first day of the rest of your life? Or is it the last day of your life so far? Update, thanks for all the love. I never expected this kind of response. I think my dad would be amazed at how something so simple made a huge difference. Stay curious. My dad taught me to indulge my love for learning. Want to read a history of the Aztecs at 6 years old? He took me to the library and we got a real history book and he helped explain what I had a hard time reading. Want to help in the garage? He taught me all the tools and taught me how to clean them and oil them and how to use them. He always took me seriously and answered every question. He was my greatest teacher and my biggest defender and my rock. I lost him in 2003 and I have missed him every minute since then. How I raised my kids has a whole lot to do with how he raised me. To kids, I'm love. Exactly. My dad was always teaching me different things and doing all kind of activities with me. I was only seeing him one weekend on two while my mom had me the rest of the time, and I actually don't really remember doing anything at all with my mom besides 2 vacations we had together, but my dad, I remember he showed me how to ride a bike, do rollerblades, hiking, how to skate, skiing, gardening, going to bookstores or antique stores and more. I remember much more clearly the days me and my dad did different activities and actually spend time doing stuffs together, and I still have a really good relationship with him right now. It also developed my curiosity to try new things, and we still go on bike ride together once every summer even though he's 73 now, and I still love gardening with him and we exchange books these days too. Edit, woo. Thanks for my first gold smile. I'm going through a rough time in life right now and knowing this gives me a lot of hope and joy. My only worry in this world is to have a smart developed baby boy to continue to grow to a great man one day, and who always know I love him. Thank you for replying. One thing too that is important is that he was also having real conversation with me about any kind of topics. Meals together were really simple, but it was never in front of the TV too compared to my mom, and I still remember the food he made much more than the one my mom made. I'm sure this is one reason for that. I still ask him to make me pancakes almost every time I go visit him. It doesn't have to be complicated things but just simple stuffs that I remember and have really good memories of. Just going for ice cream too and actually sitting down to eat it and talking was so nice too. Or getting breakfast sometimes on weekends. It's the little things that counts and that I remember the most because he was consistent with it even though we didn't spend that much time together. It showed how much he cared. I'm sure you'll do a great job. I'll keep this in mind. Thank you again. Enjoy that gold. If you don't know how to make things better, just listen. Boy, was he right. Not enough people know how to do this. Because it is a hard skill. Active listening is not easy. I found out the same people who require people listening to them are really freaking bad at it. Either that or people truly want to hear standard "don't worry it will get better" phrases. In that case I'll just accept that I'm bad at it, because hearing that, when I struggle instantly makes me resent the other person, and as someone who's struggled with depression I actively try to avoid using a phrase of this kind. To appreciate nature. The power of sitting in silence and looking at the night sky. My dad taught me to always be kind. Kindness isn't loud, it doesn't need to be stated. It should just be inherent in everything you do. You don't have to like everyone or treat them well if they don't treat you well, but you should try to approach everyone with the same kindness you'd wish they'd give you. If you ever feel like you have a problem, just know you can live a full happy life without alcohol. He couldn't control it, and neither could I. He gave it up so he could have his son in his life. I gave it up because of his example. If it was easy, everyone would do it. This is what I have to remind myself when my job gets real tough. Everyone in my family loves to quit when the going gets tough, and it's something I've really had to work hard to fight against. I learned how to be selfless, how to feed everyone else before I sit down, how to enjoy taking care of someone. I learned how to grow vegetables, I learned how to fix a sink, or rig something together if I need to. I learned diplomacy and patience and practicality. I learned to pay attention to what sounds my car is making, how it feels when it turns or when I let go of the wheel. I learned resilience and perseverance. I learned that I should work hard and do the best I can every time I can, and that's all I can do. He taught me responsibility and morals, regardless of religion or politics. He taught me how to chop parsley and cook steak, how to fry potatoes for breakfast, and how to slice tomatoes thin. My father is an immigrant, an engineer, a practical but sensitive and caring man. I wouldn't be who I am or have what I do without him. Everything I am or will be is owed to him, and my mother, who is equally magnanimous. If it counts, I learned not to emotionally and physically abuse my kids from my father. I am the man and father I am today, because I swore I would be all things that my father was not. Responsibility, accountability, and love are 3 things I value highly. I was literally just talking about this yesterday. The only good thing my dad provided me with was an example of everything not to do. Stay the course. I have 2 beautiful daughters who have turned into wonderful smart women, and they have never known the pain we have suffered. I intend to. I have a 4-year son and 9-mo daughter who are my world. Lefty loosey, righty tighty edit, holy shit, my first award. He'll forward it to my dad. Thanks, kind stranger. Measure twice, cut once is what I was going to say. Yep. My dad does both woodworking and sewing, and this is basically his life's motto at this point. My favorite came from the early 2000s. He died 11 years ago. If the way this world works ever starts to make sense to you, you need to start worrying about yourself. To always make your loved ones a priority. Make it your purpose. My dad worked hard to give us a comfortable life and more opportunities than most. And after what I can only assume was a long and tiring day, the first thing he'd do was sit and watch cartoons with me and my brothers while asking us about our day. And when he was forced to quit his job and decided to start up his own company, go on for half a year without income, I can only imagine how stressful it was to be so uncertain about the future while providing for a family of 6. I was slightly young, but I never knew anything was wrong. He never let it show. And even though he worked probably 10 hours a day, he always took the time to ask me how I was doing and go to every important event with us. My dad was and is a superhero. Always will be. The next thing I'd say I learned from him was patience. Whenever he was upset with me or thought there was something up, he'd ask me about it and wait until I was done with my side before saying anything. Really made me feel heard and less worried to tell him something even when I knew it's not what he'd like to hear. I have such a father. Don't be an idiot changed my life. Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? If the answer is yes, I do not do that thing. Hundreds of thousands of years of modern humanity's collective knowledge pressure packed into this absolute gem of knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. Be kind, be polite, and saying you'll be somewhere on time means 10 minutes early. That good is relative. I pretty much hated my dad growing up. We fought constantly and I thought he got off on trying to control me. It took me a long time to see how much he loved me, how much he sacrificed for me. Yeah, we had some bad times, but there were good days and there were perfect moments. My dad taught me that no one is perfect, but he taught me to fight for my family, to love my family, and even if it's not perfect, it was enough. At some point when my kids were younger, I stumbled across this observation somewhere, and in paraphrasing here, there are 2 power struggles every parent has with their kids, one when they're 2 that you have to win and one when they're 18 that they have to win. Your observation about your dad reminds me of that. I'm glad things worked out for the 2 of you. After my freshman year of college, I came home for the summer and lived with my parents. It felt like I was transported back in time to being 15 after experiencing so much independence and freedom. I fought with my dad a lot. One particular time at dinner we got into an argument, not even sure what now, but I distinctly remember this fire in my belly and putting my foot down and really holding my ground for the first time in our relationship. Being the oldest, I could see the shock on my siblings' faces as well as my mom and dad's. I went up to my parents' room after dinner to clear the air and he seemed so bewildered and thrown off and showed a lot of vulnerability when he told me he doesn't know how to do this, be a parent of an adult. From that moment on I have not gotten into a single argued with him. And consider him one of my closest friends who I have a completely open, transparent relationship and can talk about anything in the world with, and I feel respected. Sorry for going off on a tangent, but your comment about the child having to win the struggle at 18 hit me so square in the chest I just had to share. For the record, my dad has always been a great man and my idol, but it's been so fun to see our relationship evolve. Gave my siblings and I a life motto of, life is about 30,000 joys and 30,000 sorrows.